And when you get a chance to come up in here, say what you want to say. As always, feel free. Now, see if we can try to get Judge Joe Brown back into space. Try to get a judge up into space at least once a month. What's up, QT on duty as well too? What's up? What's up? What's up? We're gonna be getting this thing rolling. And I know everybody's been talking about the Breakfast Club interview with Larry Elder and Charlemagne the God and the crew in the Breakfast Club. Of course, also Jeff Bezos. We remember a couple of years ago that money he gave your boy Van Jones, that $100 million, and Van had kind of disappeared for a minute, and Van and popped back up, and next thing you know, they talk about Van and got pushed up out of his own nonprofit. So crazy, crazy talk. Burgess Owens, this guy is a character. Burgess Owens always was a contributor. Burgess Owens used to play football back in the day, professional football. He actually went to school with my pops and uncle them and whatnot. So Burgess Owens is a character as well too, man. Burgess Owens is a real character. So we're gonna touch up on Mr. Burgess Owens as well too, and his whole thoughts and everything. Shout out to my people coming in YouTube as well too, guys. Make sure y'all go ahead, for those in YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, share the broadcast as well too. Once again, share, subscribe, like, comment, share the broadcast, and all that good stuff as well too. Original, what's up, Ray? What's going on with you tonight, man?
I'm good tonight, man. How y'all doing?
Oh, chilling, 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 getting ready to put this space on, man, and whatnot. You know how people sometimes filter into the space is kind of slow or whatnot, but we're gonna go ahead and get it done. I see original. I'm definitely glad to have original because original definitely be bringing a lot of heat as well too. So
Hey, dudes. Kind of off topic, way off topic, man. But I noticed that Judge Joe Brown, he's pretty clicked in with Kwame Brown. When basketball season starts off, won't you see if we can get Kwame Brown to come into the space, man, chop it up about basketball or something?
that's always worth trying to see. We can definitely see what's up. Definitely, probably wouldn't hurt for you to holler at him as well too and see about that. I don't, we'll see what Kwame's schedule is and everything else like that. But hey, Kwame Brown does more than just basketball, though. Kwame Brown now be talking a lot about politics and social issues and everything as well, too. So I guess it just depends on what you want to talk to him about or whatever. But yeah, he covers quite a few issues. I see my man Trenton Makes over there on YouTube. What's up, Trenton? But yeah, Ray, that's definitely that's something worth possibly trying to formulate as well too. Get the judge on here, maybe have Kwame Brown. If we could get him on here, that would be nice as well too. So we'll definitely try. No harm in trying. What's up, Queen B? I see you coming up in the space as well too. So there's no harm in trying, man. Let me go ahead and start to get this thing rolling a little bit. Get it coming in. What's up, Queen B? Which one should we start off with first, guys? I guess we'll work our way up. We'll go with we'll go with Representative Burgess Owens from the great state of Florida, now a representative in Utah. Straight black conservative here, straight black conservative. I know his family and whatnot as well too. So trust me when they say he's a character, like this joke is really a character here. But this is from the Neo Jim Crow. It's up in the actual jumbotron as well too. So let me go ahead and touch up on this. Representative Burgess Owens released a new video produced by conservative education platform Project U, expressing his view that reparations for Black Americans represents the condescending evil of racism. In his caption on a post about the video on the social media platform X, previously known as Twitter, Owens, who is black, wrote that it's time to teach our true history. The idea of paying reparations to Black Americans to make up for the lasting effects of slavery as well as Jim Crow era laws like redlining has gained steam in recent years, with some states considering making payments if the federal government doesn't act. The city of Evanston, Illinois passed an ordinance in 2021 to pay $25,000 of Black residents who lived in the city during a time when the city had discriminatory housing policies. It has so far paid out less than $400,000 of a promised $10 million. The idea of reparations has been floated in California, including San Francisco, which proposed a plan for $5 million to be distributed to qualified adult Black residents, as reported by the Desert News. But Owens, a Republican who represents Utah's 4th congressional district, has spoken out against reparations. And in a new video, he says the reparation movement grants superiority to the white race and does not represent Black America's potential. This divisive message marks the Black race as forever broken, a people whose healing can only come through guilt, pity, and benevolence of whites, he said. Good character cannot be bought by bribery. Because of work I've never done, stripes I've never had under a whip, I've never known. These progressives want to give money I've never earned, he said in the video. The fact that this money will be forcibly taken from others who also dreamed, worked hard, and sacrificed for it, I'm told is not my concern. But it is. Owens called reparations condescending and counterproductive. He said the many white Americans who died fighting to end slavery during the Civil War made a payment in full the evils of slavery. Yeah, like I told you, boy, Burgess is something else. That joker is a contributor on Fox News, and he says a whole lot of stuff. I know some of his family members in Florida as well too, and they say he was something else when them family reunions come around, and he gives his opinion and he tells you how he feels or whatever. He is quite something to have to deal with. Shout out to those coming up in here. Ray, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Dr. Claude Anderson says, with people like that, they should never feel comfortable in our communities, and that's just the honest truth. Everyone in their family, everyone in their family has someone. I feel it's like that, man. When you give someone like him a microphone to spew out his rhetoric, that's when it becomes dangerous. And I also wanted to point out, if anyone who wants to see it, Larry Elder, because since we're already talking about it, he actually said he would have voted against civil rights if anyone wants to see that. So this dude has had a long history of cooning. And I'm trying, as you're talking, to find this letter that he wrote to, I want to say it's to Coretta Scott King back in the day. And like I said, I'm looking for it right now. This dude has had a long history of, just speaking down on Black folks, man.
He didn't write a letter to Coretta Scott King, did he?
He did. I believe it was to Coretta Scott King. I'm trying to find it. So I'm actually looking up now as we're speaking, man. This dude here is something else. And I know you're not talking about him yet, but I wanted to point out something that I heard during that Breakfast Club interview. So, since you're talking about reparations, he, obviously the topic came up about reparations. And of course, Larry Elder, no, I would never support it, because, Black people did, have us in captivity in Africa and this, that, and the third. So Tesla asked him, she was like, okay, so we would get the money from Africa first, would you then support reparations? He was like, well, no, I wouldn't then either. So why would you sit around and try to act like, that was something that was holding you back? The truth is, he just doesn't support it. He's looking for a way for us just not to get it. So I just definitely wanted to point that out, man.
All right, Ray. No problem. Yeah, we're gonna touch up on Larry Elder too as well, man. And Larry Elder and Burgess Owens, like they like two peas in the pod. So you can't really miss with either one of these dudes. What's going on, Queen B? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, Newstoter. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Okay, so interesting topic for this evening.
Yeah, well, we ain't lying, are we?
No, I didn't know what Burgess had done lately, but I think Burgess is probably feeling some pressure because, when he co-sponsored that bill, that House bill that's in Congress right now, or they're trying to, lobby support for it, for shutting down funding for any states who would pay out any form of reparations. He co-sponsored that bill. And, we have been doing some things on this end, and Ms. Giselle has been leading that campaign, working with Dr. Randy Short, just to get the word out, that bill is unconstitutional, goes against, human rights, all of that. So there's been a campaign, and I'm wondering if that's starting to have some effect, and that's what may have him out there, because I guess I don't know the whole story. You said that he's doing something with PragerU?
Yeah, he
Is that
said
what you said?
yeah, he just posted a video on there basically talking about the ills of reparation and why he was against it, and basically, just basically trying to get paid off of white guilt and pity, and basically said,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, remember he spoke at that hearing that they had a couple of years ago, that national hearing. He was there speaking against reparations. He and Larry Elder both, and Herschel Walker. I mean, the people that they got, it was ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, so Burgess Owens was, against it then. So I'm not surprised, but I don't know. For you folks who know him personally, I feel sorry for you. Okay?
Oh yeah, he went to Burgess went to school with my father, my uncle.
I knew he was a football player and all that, and then
Yeah,
and he came out like in this conservative. He came out really. He wrote this book, what, Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps or something, because he was coming out on the conservative. He's on Sean Hannity's show, back, like, I think at the end of Obama's term or something. He had written that book, and so he was out there, talking about all that stuff then. But yeah, when he actually participated in that national hearing that was televised and he spoke against reparations, then I knew he was a force to be reckoned with. But then this doubling down on it, when you actually gonna sit there and co-sponsor a bill against it, that's just a bit too much for me. It's one thing, like this guy Woodson, it's one thing to speak out against it, but then to actually take action so that people can't get it, I have a hard time with folks who do stuff like that. So yeah, I had drawn some conclusions about him in terms of that bill that's going around now. So I guess I'll stop from here. Thank you, Newstoter.
no problem, Queen B, and stick around because, like I said, we're gonna touch up on. I'm gonna touch up Ray. I'm gonna touch up on Van Jones real quick. Really short article from Rolling Out. It's up in the jumbotron. All the articles tonight up in the jumbotron. Plus, I think I put an additional one with Burgess Meredith. One I didn't actually read up in the jumbotron as well too. Burgess Owens. I'm sorry, I call him Burgess Meredith. Thinking about the little dude off of Rocky, but Burgess Owens.
Yeah, the penguin.
Yeah, from Batman, the old Batman. Okay, let me touch up on Mr. Van Jones because we know Van got that money a couple years ago at the heart of the actual during the pandemic and during the actual George Floyd protests, and Van got that money. He kind of disappeared for a little bit. He occasionally pop his head up, say a little something, but nothing too much. He kind of was chilling, but now Van has been pushed out of his own nonprofit, from what folks are saying. Van Jones, Van Jones, Bezos' $100 million man, pushed out of his own nonprofit. In 2020, CNN commentator Van Jones was praised by Jeff Bezos for being a great leader. In the same breath, Jeff Bezos gave Jones a hefty check of $100 million to use as needed. Jones was elated by this grand action and was believed to have used it towards his nonprofit, Dream.org. Dream.org is a nonprofit co-founded by Jones, Jessica Jackson, and Matt Haney, focusing on addressing climate change, mass incarceration, and poverty by advocating for new legislation, teaching low-income children how to code, and creating green jobs. According to the Daily Beast, Jones left the board this summer after struggling to agree on the organization's direction with the leadership team. Allegedly, a direct source is saying Jones did not leave willingly. In addition to the shocking news, Jones is not the only person affected by changes. One Dream subsidiary and environmental advocacy initiative called Green for All has been laying off staffers, even though Bezos' Climate Fund awarded it a separate 3-year, $10 million grant in 2020. The group tore through that money with little to show for it. Several ex-employees said Bezos' nonprofit has not renewed the grant, the Daily Beast reported. All in all, Jones continues to work with Dream.org despite no longer running day-to-day responsibility. Jones' spokesperson said, according to the Daily Beast, Van continues to work with Dream.org in the justice, innovation space and beyond. He's a proud supporter of their work at every level. With Dream.org support, he is working to launch a new complementary initiative, which will be announced soon. Bezos' charitable fund has yet to comment on the news. I wonder what happened with all that $100 million. Have they gone through all that $100 million as well too? How did he come in? Shout out to Reps. He's over there. He said first in, first out. Yeah, first in, first out. He came in, he got that money. And that was at the heart, like I said, the George Floyd protests and everything else. Bezos did give him that money. A lot of these corporate sponsors claimed that they were going to go ahead and they were going to give money and this and that and whatever. But they really didn't. Bezos did go ahead and give the money, but apparently something was going on inside where, to the point that the Daily Beast allegedly is saying that, he pretty much was pushed out. So I haven't seen Van Jones that often. You would always see him on CNN. He'd be crying depending on what it was. I believe, didn't he cry when Joe Biden got elected and became president as well, too? He was forever crying, forever a tear coming out his eye and everything else. So the $100 million man, from what they're saying allegedly, has been pushed out of his own nonprofit. Now, I don't know how you can get pushed out of your own nonprofit. Can you get pushed out of your own nonprofit if it's actually your own nonprofit? If you actually own it, can somebody actually push you out of it? I know you have a board and everything else, and you can be, but is that even possible? I mean, was it actually his if he got pushed out of it? Did he actually really have ownership of it? If he was to be pushed out of it, now he's talking about creating something separate and launching this and launching that or whatever. I wonder if Daddy Jeff is going to write another huge check for another $100 million. We know that this guy, he pretty much is, what's the character name? The Midas man, whatever he touches turns into gold or whatever. So very interesting to see how this is going to play out for my boy Van Jones. Like I say, Van has been MIA. He would pop his head up occasionally. You see him on CNN, pop his head up here, pop his head up there, but he didn't stay around too long. I don't know if that was part of the agreement that, hey, man, you can't ruffle no feathers. I know you like to be on CNN, but you go ahead, you take this money, you lay low. And I wonder exactly what type of projects, because I know they were saying that they address climate change, mass incarceration, poverty, and this and that, teaching low-income children how to code and creating green jobs. I wonder how effective this actual nonprofit has actually been in doing all of that in terms of the mass incarceration, in terms of teaching these kids how to code, in terms of fighting against poverty, the climate change and all that. I really like to see some of the results of some of the actual work that they put in and see exactly how beneficial it actually been for the community as well, too. Shout out to my man, DJ. I see DJ's up in the space. Ray, I know you had your hand up, so let me go ahead and let you get back to it. Anybody else who wants to speak? We still got to touch up on Mr. Larry Elder as well too, and his trip into the Breakfast Club as well too. So that was quite a bit. I saw that the other day, and that if you haven't seen that, definitely go ahead and catch that. That was pretty entertaining as well too. So, what's up, DJ? DJ might be up in the space, he might not, but Ray, go ahead. I see Aunt Liza up in here. Original, what's up? I thought Original, you raised your hand to come up and speak, but maybe you dropped down. Okay, now I see your hand. Okay, so Ray, you had your hand up. Did you want to speak? Are you cool or what?
Yo. I'm gonna be real quick. What's up, Ray? What's up? Nah, just like in the studio. What's good, everybody? Go ahead, Ray.
I'm gonna be real quick. So I just wanted to point out that Larry Elder is officially announced he's running for president of the United States in 2024. So looks like Trump is gonna have some competition. And if anyone can help me out, because I cannot seem to find this letter that Larry Elder wrote, it was either to Coretta Scott King or he wrote it against the civil rights marches of the 60s. It was something that he wrote. I mean, just cooning it up. If y'all could please post it in the Jumbotron, so I can definitely keep that in my in my little repertoire. Appreciate it.
No problem. I see we got Original up here. I'm gonna get the Queen Bee as well too. And matter of fact, Original, before I get to you, let me touch up on this thing with the let me touch up, and don't go anywhere, Original Queen Bee. Let me touch up on the Larry Elder and the Breakfast Club whole thing, so we can go ahead and then everybody can just go ahead and get it in how they want to get it in. Rep say, so tonight is going to be a coon fest. Kind of looks that way. It kind of does looks that way. From News One, nigga wake up call. Larry Elder checks Charlemagne, the god over Joe Biden's "You ain't black" remark And even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, Larry, say what you want to about him. He was kind of right on this one here too about that whole "you ain't black" remark that Charlemagne just set up there and act like he couldn't open his mouth. But well, that's it. I'm throwing away my 2023 bingo card. I was ready to throw it away when Anita Baker started beefing with Babyface and damn near tossed it in a trash can, then burned the trash can when Ice Cube was riding around South Central LA with Tucker Carlson. But now it's really time to rip that thing up because yet another thing has happened this year that I did not see coming. Larry Elder was actually right about something. The conservative radio host who was running for president in 2024, did y'all know that? I didn't know that. Whatever, y'all didn't know that either. Recently made an appearance on the Breakfast Club. Per usual, Elder was there to rip on Democrats, deny the existence of systematic racism, harp on absentee black fathers, and be loud and wrong about just about all of it. The one thing the presidential candidate and tragic get out victim was 100% correct about, President Joe Biden was wrong and racist when he told black people you ain't black if they support Trump. And Charlemagne the God was wrong for just sitting there and letting it slide. Charlemagne asked Elder if he ever had a nigger wake up call, which he defined as an incident which a person of color, I don't know how, and this is even he's talking about person of color. Now, if you talk about a nigger wake up call, what person of color calls himself a nigger? So let's stop it. But anyways, Charlemagne asked Elder if he ever had a nigger wake up call, which he defined as an incident in which a person of color forgets that they are of color and gets a reminder rather brutally with an unexpected act of racism. Oh, brother, Elder responded. No, he said brother, not brother. I'm pretty sure he's never used a latter. Elder is a Hulk Hogan brother with the hard R type, not a soul brother. Just because Elder is right about Biden doesn't mean he's still not the type of brother who tucks in his polo shirt and pulls his pants up to his chest. Just saying. Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person. Sorry, but a lot of us were not acutely aware that just as you are a black person, and when Joe Biden insulted you by saying you ain't really black if you don't know if you want to vote for me or Donald Trump, seems to me that should have been a wake-up call for you on your part. How dare this man come in here and tell you, a black man, you got to think a certain way? I'm surprised you weren't mad about that. Charlemagne responded by saying he just really wasn't bothered by it because he doesn't let such things bother him, to which Elder responded by piling on about Biden's dishonesty about his civil rights record, which he was also correct about. And he went in about the civil rights record. I'm trying to think about some of the stuff he was saying, and he was talking about what he did with how Biden did this and did that, doing civil rights and all that other stuff. And Elder was calling him out on a lot of that BS. And like I said, I still don't make Larry, our kinfolk, but whatever. Now, obviously, we're not going to sit here and pretend that this isn't the same Larry Elder who told his sunken place roomie Candace Owen that white people deserve reparations for slavery more than black people do because their ancestors had their property taken away. And despite the fact that he's running against Donald Trump last month, he said he was open to being Trump's running mate in 2024 election. So nobody's going to give Elder his props for checking Charlemagne about not checking Biden when he's okay with being a black lackey to America's favorite orangey white supremacist who could easily win a versus battle of racist remarks against the current commander-in-chief. In fact, Republicans have been trying to capitalize on Biden's "you ain't black" comments since he made it with the hopes to sway black voters after spraying us with bigot amnesia spray so we'll forget that they're the party of black history, hate, and Confederate flag love. But it's clear why Elder was insulted by Biden's remark, and it's not because it was racist. Elder doesn't care about racism, not the way he's railed against Black Lives Matter and claimed that police are more inclined to shoot white Americans than black Americans, which is statistically false. The only reason Elder would be insulted by what Biden said, or is at least pretending to be, is that Biden insinuated that black people must think a certain way and black conservatives fancy themselves as free thinkers who go against the grain, despite the fact that their so-called free thought always falls perfectly in line with their white conservatives think about literally everything. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to keep my bingo card because even when Larry Elder is right, he is wrong for the wrong reason. Let me go ahead and get to my man Original. Then I'm going to go ahead and get to Queen B again. Original, what's going on? How you doing tonight?
Hey, peace, black power, and reparations. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. See, what's interesting about this is, see, these Democrat and Republican ops, and that's just what they are. They're operative because, as you was reading from that article, you don't. These black Republicans, they pride themselves as being free thinkers, but see, they go right along when you hear these Republicans make all kind of racist statements about black folks, they chime right in with it. And let me say this: the Democrats are not any better. When was the last time you saw the Democrats defending us or anything? They don't. Y'all saw how when what Queen Bee talked about that reparations hearing they had about a couple of years or so ago, and with Sheila Jackson Lee, and she kept saying, "Oh, we're not going to talk about cash payments." I mean, what are reparations without cash payments? Because they're trying to do everything they can. The black Republicans are trying to do everything that they can to just stop it. Period. The black Democrats are trying to do everything that they can to say that we don't need cash payments. So they both are operatives for these two degenerate political parties, which neither one of them want to do a damn thing for us. I mean, how is it that Jim Crow Joe said that he had black people's back and black people got him into office, but what did he do? He took the black vote and used it to represent all these illegal aliens who just walk across the border. Haven't done a damn thing for black folks. And they think, and I've been letting them know, because I tell you, I was in a back and forth with these people, that old degenerate Cornel West. I said, look, y'all need to understand, see, all these people, we need to look at them as being off. Because let's be real, the reparation issue did not get hot until the grassroots infused all this energy into it. That's when it became hot. But you hear these people like the Larry Elder, and as I told you before, see, Sambo Larry, he started to have an issue, and I'm proud because I sent DJ those JPEGs whereby those postcards that I made back in the '90s, where we put pictures of this sister Nola. I can't recall Nola's last name, but she was trying to save her son, and they both were lynched. And it was a brother with his feet and hand bound, and we caused. I don't know if he's still working at KABC, but we caused them to lose $100 million in advertising revenue. Because see, they thought we were playing. See, people don't understand. It's the grassroots that move things. See, they thought we were playing, and when they said we asked them to not allow Larry to use black folks as his chopping board or whatever, and his audience of white males from about 25 to 80 or whatever. They said, well, he had the right to free speech, and when the community started speaking, they tried to contact us again and said, it's too late. This bus have left the parking lot, and it ain't, and the brakes don't work no more. And so they lost a lot of money. And see, KABC or ABC is owned by Walt Disney. So, like they're trying to kick up all this dust about what's going on with Doodoo Santos down in Florida and Disney. I could care less about Disney. That is not my concern. But what's interesting is how these people, what I'm looking at now, Newstoter, is that regardless of their political affiliation, both the black Democrat and the black Republican are trying to suppress and oppress black people for their white party managers. That's basically what they're trying to do. And you talked about Van Jones. It's interesting. See, here we go again. See, this thing's supposed to be about diversity and inclusion and all of that. No, these people do not trust. See, Van Jones, I guess these two Karens that I think it was two Karens that kicked them out. But see, what's interesting? See, there's a pattern here. Now, you all remember when Michael Steele became he became the head of the RNC, right? Republican National Committee or whatever, head of the Republican Party. And so what happened is Michael still thought that he could bring his team, a team of people with him, and to help, do the day-to-day endeavors. They said, "Oh no, we got a team for you right here." See, again, they don't trust these folks, and they get all up in. They want to get all up in the pit with these people. They'll attack us, and see now, Michael Steele is on MSNBC. Hell, he sounds more liberal than the liberals do. There is a pattern here. I keep telling people that they don't understand, regardless of these political parties, affiliation, whatever you want to call them. These white folks don't trust these black folks on any of it. It doesn't matter how much they come out and they boot licking Sambo and they attack us. They don't trust them, and it's sad that they can't see this. Because I sit back and laugh. And let's not forget, Jim Crow Joe, he called Cedric Richardson and who is the guy, the new governor of Maryland. He referred to both of them as boys. I told people that old racist thing. I told people that old thing was racist. Now well, as far as I'm no comment on what I think about what Larry said to Charlemagne. I will say this: Charlemagne needed that said to him, because see, they all would come after us and say stuff to us, but they don't go after these white folks that say all kind of crazy stuff to him. See, they get real quiet and they just say, "Well, that didn't matter to me." When in actuality, you can tell by the look on Charlemagne's face, it didn't matter. And so now you look at this guy. What's his name? Burgess Owens. You say he's promoting this garbage with this PragerU. See, one thing that I had to realize is this: quite a number of these black people, especially the ones in the Republican Party, see that Prager University is some kind of religious cult, is what it is, and he does not mind. He's been brainwashed religiously, thinking that he has to agree with all of this stuff and believe that these white Christians are truthful and this, that, and whatever. But when you go back and start doing research, it was these white Christian preachers that lynched a whole bunch of black folks. Yeah, they did it at the church, and they want us to go along with that. Because if any of you have read Asada Shakur's book, and she talked about how somehow I can't remember exactly, but somehow she was going to maybe she was attending a Catholic school, whatever. Somehow she was kind of connected to the Catholic Church in a way. For nuns, unless you are not a real Christian, and so she started going through the process to becoming a so-called Catholic, and then eventually, when her mind was liberated even more, she rebuked all of that too and said, "No, this ain't me." And see, that is the main issue with a lot of black folks. They are scared to let go of this white religious theology, that they scared that they may not go wherever they think they're going when they leave here. And when you look at all of this stuff and you really, address it in a manner, you will see all of these people are basing this stuff on their religion and their connection to whiteness. That's just how I see it. But when you look at it, come on, Cedric, you gonna let somebody call you a boy and what Jim Crow Joe said to Charlemagne, and now you got Van Jones and these two Karens kicking them out, and it's basically the same thing happened to Michael Steele. It's just endless. And so I'm not going to take up much time, but I just wanted to throw that out there because most people are not looking at this thing based on these people wanting to connect themselves with white folk. And they would do whatever they think they have to do to not sever that connection with white folk. But you got some people, like you had this old rapper in Atlanta, what's his name, Killer Mike, saying that every black person needs one good white friend. I'm like, no, I don't. It is amazing what some of these people do, but they won't see. Now they're worried because the grassroots has basically severed their connection to them. See, they may come before us and say some stuff, but they know they have to do it in a controlled environment now because they know that we're going to stand up and start posing questions, and we're going to put their back not up against the wall, but through the wall without questions. So that's what we have to keep doing. But just understand that these people, they're looking to be accepted by white folks, and they're going to promote whatever it is that they do. And I'll land with that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Original as always, bringing the heat. Shout out to everybody coming on YouTube. Y'all make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment on the actual broadcast over there tonight as too. Shout out Nightfall. I see you got up in the space as well too. So shout out to Nightfall over there in YouTube as well too. Let me go ahead and kick it to Queen B. And then Ray, I got you as well. And anybody else that wants to speak, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get to you.
Okay, so Larry Elder. All righty. Okay, so much, but so little time. So anyway, this man, I guess I can piggyback off of what Original said. He's definitely someone who is in there to please white people. I don't believe that Larry Elder really even understands. To me, there must be something mentally wrong with him. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it seems like something's missing. Something with some relationships with one of his parents. Something don't seem right to me about him. I don't like the way he's always bashing black people. And then when he does it, he knows that the majority of the people who support him, or his followers, I should say, are white. And, I used to go in and I would comment and I would challenge his tweets and say, okay, well, if you're saying this is the problem, what's your solution? What are you doing to change things in a black community? He would never respond, but he would allow, or I would say his white followers would come in and jump on me, jump on me online, start trolling me and, and calling me a Democrat. That kind of ridiculous stuff. But he's just a grifter. But let me tell you all, I think he knew that Charlemagne was not going to be, very astute for this conversation. Just, so that's the reason why he went to the Breakfast Club, because this was part of his strategy to go in there and, he knew that there was going to be some sort of topic about race and that he would be able to out-debate Charlemagne and that he was going to use this as a fundraising tactic. Now, he has been trying to get on the debate stage. And he was down. I saw him on an interview, I think it was at the beginning of last week, where he had only had maybe 20,000 donors or something, and he needs to get a 40,000 threshold. And this was a strategy. So he said, okay, well, let me go to the Breakfast Club, and then I'll take that video after things went exactly the way. It's almost like either Charlemagne knew he was going to do this and let him do it, or Charlemagne's just, again, not astute enough for the conversation. So what he did, of course, after this interview, was took it and it made it go and put it out there on social media. And let me just say this to everybody. To me, the worst thing that we did was to comment on that and give him credit for bashing Charlemagne, because that just gave him more clout. He got his fundraising up. He's not going to make it on the debate stage because he's not polling well enough to make it on the debate stage. So he's not going to be, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think he's going to be a threat. But let me tell you what he did, though. The other night, he was doing an interview, and he said that the reason why he was doing this, right, running for president, is because he wanted to talk about fatherlessness in the black community, right? And he wanted to shut down this reparations conversation, shut down the DE&I conversation, and to, what was the last thing he said he was trying to do? Darn it, I forgot now. But yeah, there was like 3 things that he brought up. And put an end to this lie that there is systemic racism. So he said that. After he said that, he said, even if he didn't make it right to the debate stage or to even become president, that on behalf of his party, he would have done what he was supposed to be doing. So that told me right there. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what he said. He basically was like, yeah, I'm doing this on behalf of my party, which is the Republican Party. So that's him in a nutshell. So like I said, the worst thing we can do is to continue to talk about it and send it to each other or whatever. And, I know Sunny had a space earlier today, and she was talking about, again, missed opportunity for Charlemagne, because Charlemagne is a father in the house with his kids. He should have pushed back somewhere with Larry Elder. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like you just can't sit here and let this man say all this stuff, and you don't have any stats. You don't have anything to push back on anything that Larry Elder says. So, I know he tried a little bit, and I know Tez got in there, and Tez tried to, and she was getting shut down. But I wouldn't have even allowed that man to have a platform to get in there and talk about Black people the way that he did and not challenge him. So, yeah, it was all a setup from the beginning. This is what they do. This is what the GOP does, these Black conservatives. The majority of their donors are Black people. Are white people. And, of course, when he said he wants to shut down the reparations conversation, he had his 3 objectives right there. So that helped him. That helped him, meet the donor threshold, but he just can't get to the polling. So as of, I think 9 o'clock is the deadline that he has to meet the polling criteria, but he's not going to make that polling criteria. So, but he's the worst kind to me because, again, like I said, the things that he says about Black people and how he can never say anything positive about Black people, and then he won't say anything negative about white people. So, somewhere along the way, something went wrong. I know he always talks about his father and how his father worked hard and, all this other kind of stuff, and that they came from the South. So he's, one of our Freedmen family, one of our FBA family. And this is how he carries on. I'm not real sure about Burgess Owens' background or anything like that. But these
Burgess is from the South too. Burgess is a Black American.
These brothers ought to be ashamed of themselves because obviously they don't know history. See what I'm saying? Because if nothing else, you would stand on the premise that this was a debt owed. Period. Just start there. But they just so busy trying to please white people and, get into the good graces of white people. And Larry Elder, after he didn't make that, after he didn't win that election in California, he should have stopped then. He was not very popular. You know what I'm saying? But he feels like he's going out on this moral high ground, going around degrading and talking bad about Black people. There's something wrong with him. I can't, that's the only thing I can really say about him. There's no other way for me to even make any sense other than he's just got some self-hatred there. And I'm not sure where it came from, but something's going on with him. I'll land.
Thank you, Queen B. I appreciate that. I think you can't forget that also that Larry Elder knows that he couldn't become governor of California. Larry Elder knows that he's not going to win the Republican nomination. He knows that. Larry Elder is hoping that somebody like Trump will go ahead and snatch him up and use him and make him either have him as a running mate or even, put him in his cabinet if Trump was to win again or something like that, put him on his team. So Larry Elder knows he has absolutely no chance. He also knows where his bread is buttered at. He knows that that especially white conservatives love his talking points because they feel the same way. And all he's doing is just spewing that. I was on that YouTube video looking at the Breakfast Club video, and I couldn't even go down the comment section because it was just a slob fest. Everything that everything he talked about, they would talk about how brilliant he was and how articulate he was and how thought out he was and everything else, how intelligent he was. You see, he's the type of black man that they appreciate. Because Larry Elder, like you say, and Charlemagne, Charlemagne really that wasn't his cup of tea. You should have had somebody that was actually a political commentator up there when you had Larry Elder on it, because Larry Elder is an intelligent man. He was a judge and everything else. He's highly intelligent, and you really needed somebody that was a political commentator to really go ahead and take him on and really challenge him on some of the stuff that he was saying. Because Larry Elder, the whole reason that black people are in the predicament that they are today is simply because no black fathers in the house. And everybody in here in this space, and everybody agrees that, yeah, you definitely have to have the father as an integral part of a child's life in the home, if possible, as well, too. Nobody's debating that. Nobody's denying that. We understand that 100%. But here's the thing, and he was even using stats, and he was talking about at a time, and I forgot the time frame, when you had all these black fathers in the house, and you even had more black people. I believe he said it was either married or more black fathers around than even white people. Here's the thing, even in that time when you had all these black fathers around that was raising their kids, that was married and everything else, you still was at the bottom of the barrel. So his whole thing is that, hey, even when you had he said when you had black parents and when you had a black father in the house, and when black people was 80 some odd percent underneath the poverty line, you still didn't have the same you didn't have the amount of black on black violence or crime that you got now. Okay, well, also let's go ahead and play devil's advocate here as well too. You probably didn't have that kind of crime and everything going on in the black community because, hey, at those times, we're talking about in 1920 or something like that, 1930, 1940, you didn't have the amount of drugs being pumped into the black neighborhood that you got today. Let's be honest,
Yeah, and that's where Charlemagne had the opportunity. See, if Charlemagne had the recent statistics and the recent data, that says that we're trending back positive now. And I think it was the CDC that had said that black fathers are more active in their children's lives. See what I'm saying? You needed someone like that to challenge Larry Elder. And he had said, well, heck, I'm a part of my kid's life. You know what I'm saying? And that's what was missed. So he, allowed him to sit up there and to say all of those negative things. And then he has no policy prescriptions. So it's like, you don't have to be running for president to go around saying these type of things. And, and I would have said, well, so how are you engaged in the black community? Are you involved? Are you a mentor or anything? You know what I'm saying? He has no solutions, nothing, and he's a man that doesn't even have any children. So he can't even be an example. So he's just, like I said, he's just the worst kind to me. He's just the worst kind. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. But I said,
for sure now.
No, that's fine. Like I say, people underestimate the actual impact that drugs have played in the black community. When the government was up here pumping this kind of stuff into the neighborhoods and stuff like that, you take away the drugs and stuff like that, and a lot of the violence and crime and everything else that you see would not exist. But this was something that and we think only about the crack epidemic, but no, they've been pumping dope into the black neighborhood, heroin and everything else, cocaine and whatever else, decades before crack ever came on the scene as well too. So this is something that in the 20s and 30s, when you had the black family intact, this is something that they did not have to go against to the point that we see today as well too. So that's just something. And like I said, he wants to put everything. He's saying that you had systematic racism back then, but now systematic racism is no longer the case or whatever. Charlemagne did ask him, he said, well, is there anything that white people do wrong? And, well, I don't want to talk about white people. I'm not talking about white people. I'm black and I'm talking about black. Mind you, and I know some people say, well, this doesn't matter, but he is also married to a white woman as well, too. So let's call it what it is as well, too. So, I'll be the first one to say, yeah, definitely. You definitely the nucleus of the black family. And here's the problem that I have with both Democrats and Republicans. Everything that goes on is always a policy. It's always, the Republicans did this or the Democrats did that. It's like these two groups don't do things together. I was getting into a conversation with some people because you had the Roots. They put out a post saying that you had these black rappers on here talking about why are these black like these black rappers are trying to go ahead and get people basically to vote for Trump or whatever. And I responded, I said, well, y'all don't have any issue with the black rappers that support Joe Biden. And let's look at Joe Biden, some of the actual legislation he put into play, the actual 94 crime bill and stuff like that. And actually helped write the actually 86 bill as well too. That created this large the discrepancy in terms of crack cocaine and cocaine sentencing and everything else that he actually came and wrote or whatever. But you had a bunch of black people coming to run to his defense and this and that. Well, you don't have that same heat for the Republicans. You don't have this for the Republicans. What about the Republicans as the party or this and that or whatever? Look, the Democratic Party has a long founding history of anti-black. I mean, from the time you want to talk about slavery, Jim Crow. Now black Democrats want to go ahead and say, hey, well, that they were a different party back then and this and that. I guess every single solitary person that was in the Democratic Party left the Democratic Party, and every single solitary person went over to the Republican side. Both of these parties sit up here and they go back and forth with their actual with the anti-vitriol about black people. You got both of them, and that's one thing that I heard people saying when I mentioned that about Joe Biden and 94 crime bill. But that bill had overwhelming bipartisan support, and I said, well, that's the issue right there. The fact that the bill had overwhelming bipartisan support. Now you're talking about even all of the Democrats, Biden, the Clintons, everybody else came back and talk about how a generation was lost and how detrimental that actual bill was and this and that. But you're sitting up here talking about all of the dirt that the Republicans do in terms of signing bills, yet it had bipartisan overwhelming. That means overwhelmingly the Democrats supported this bill as well, too. So don't sit up there and talk about that it's all the Republicans signing bills and stuff like that as well, too. Because you got Democrats that go right aboard with this stuff. You got a bunch of black people that was Democrats that go aboard. You got a bunch of black ministers and everything else throughout the nation that jumped aboard and went along and had them to put that bill out there as well, too. So don't sit up here and say that it's all the Republicans. And the same with the Republicans when they want to give you this history about the Democrats are the party of slavery and Jim Crow. Like, yeah, y'all also participated in this as well, too. I mean, come on. It's not like you were handcuffed in the basement and you couldn't do anything. You guys also supported this stuff as well. What are you talking about here? Let me give a shout out to my man Trenton Makes. Trenton, thank you for your contribution on Cash App. Let me go ahead and kick it back to Ray and Original. Anybody else that wants to speak, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm going to be real brief. I'm going to drop down. I was thinking, we're talking about politics, obviously, which I really don't talk about. I just hate talking about politics. But has it ever occurred to either one of these Democrat or Republican, that they would actually do something for the black community as loyal as we are, that they would probably secure a good majority of the vote from 40 and 50 years? Could you imagine if the Republicans actually did something to push for us to get reparations, how loyal we would be? But at the end of the day, they don't want to do that, and I just don't understand why. If they can look at the Democrats and see they haven't done a damn thing for us, why wouldn't they in turn do something to, get our vote? Because like a lot of people, I say this all the time, my vote is for sale. I'm a registered independent. You want my vote? Hey, what you got that you're going to bring to the table? And I'll land right there.
All right. Thank you, Ray. Let me go ahead and kick it to Original. Original, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, what Ray said is right. They both see, like you said, when they came together and it was the Maxine water, because there were people in LA trying to tell Maxine, do not support this crime bill. But she went out there and did it anyway. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was going on in the community, and there were community people trying to squash a lot of this stuff. But the way those drugs were coming into black communities across this country, that was like an uphill fight, just pushing the biggest boulder that you could push. Because see, it's like some people, they were trying to give sympathy to what's his name, Freeway Ricky Ross, like when he got locked up, and they was trying to say, well, he didn't know. I'm like, hold up. Now this boy had stash houses with money and everything else, but he helped to destroy the black community, and he did these little some kind of little documentary trying to say that, trying to trying to give another perspective. But I'm like, no, it is not our fault that you didn't do your homework, you didn't learn how to read, you tried to go to LA Trade Tech and play tennis, but because you couldn't function, you was too illiterate to function, so you got kicked out. That ain't our fault. That's your fault that you didn't pay attention in school. But see, all these people, they come about, they do all this stuff in the black community, then they start pointing fingers. But see, remember, like they came together to pass that crime bill, these same two parties came together and they passed that Asian hate crime bill. See, they'll come together and do things for every demographic except for us. Because as quietly as it's kept, America, Democrats and Republicans, are still waging war against us. Because I'm gonna give you an example and how some of these ops would stand up and defend these people. Now, you all remember our beautiful sister. She lives in South Georgia. Ray, you may know of her, Ray. You may even know of her family. But our beautiful sister, Mrs. Shirley Sherrod, she was married to Charles Sherrod. They were very integral in the civil rights movement. And so Mrs. Sherrod had gave a speech about how this white farmer had came to her for some support. She was over some agricultural something here in the state of Georgia. And she gave a speech and she was letting people know how she could have, due to racism, she could have looked the other way and not helped him. But she extended assistance to him and helped to save his farm. So what the Republicans did, and that's why people be on your toes, since with all these videos and election stuff that come up, because both Democrat and Republicans, they chopped these videos up to make it look like what they wanted to. So the Republicans had chopped up this video and made it look as if she was being racist towards white folks, and she wasn't. And Roly Martin jumped out there and started attacking sister, and she ripped him to shred on CNN. And when it came out, especially because, these black folks in these political parties, they believe what white folks say. So when the white guy came out and he said, y'all are lying on this sister. She wasn't racist. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have my farm. But see, Roly Poly, Barack, other Democrats, they jumped out there attacking sister, wouldn't even listen to her side and see what she had to say. They just fired on the spot. But see, she didn't take that job back because she knew that if she had taken that job back, they would sit her up and probably send her to jail. So she told me, no, she didn't want the job no more. And I don't blame her. And so I have to give kudos to that beautiful sister, Mrs. Shirley Sherrod. And also, when Queen B, when you said you mixed in morals with bootlicking Sambo Larry ain't got no morals. See, when the black community in LA was going after Larry, it came to the attention of the community that Larry was having an affair with a married white woman. So see, that's these things, especially these Republicans, they come out here with this high and mighty, pious attitude as if they are so moral, and they are the most immoral people on the planet, And then when you said, and see what people need to ask these people. See, here's the issue, y'all. Now now they claim that whatever percentage of white family have the father in the house, but then has anybody ever thought about why these crazy white boys are going around shooting up everything? Why are they strung out on drugs and everything else? You see, and as you all know, when they do it, this is an illness, and we're going to have to fund all this, put all this money into this fund, and make sure that they can get some treatment. But see, what I always do when I hear these people about these white folks being strung out, my main issue is I always say, well, what about personal responsibility? Because when they dumped that crack in our communities and all these people started getting hooked, these white folks kept saying, what about personal responsibility? And I'm saying that same thing to them. I don't give a damn what happened to them. But my point is that, as Paul Mooney would say, what a waste of white skin. So I just want people to understand that, just arm yourself with as much information as you can. And I know sometimes things slip through our mind and we don't remember until it's too late or whatever. But that's what we're going to have to start doing, because these people, they wage war against us, the Democrats and the Republicans, and they are never going to stop. And so that's why, like now, the Democrats are concerned because they understand that a lot of black folks are just saying, we're not voting, because like I've been telling them, the Republicans are not an option for me. And if reparations are not part of the Democratic platform, they're not an option for me either. Because as I told y'all before, back in 2016, when Hillary ran, I didn't vote then either. You had their convention was held in Philadelphia, but they had the illegal aliens up on the stage talking about their issues. They offered black folks nothing. And so you had, then I got this article, it came from the Root, but they archived it off the internet now. But it was like it was Ben Crump, this guy from that Color of Change, whatever his name is, and then it was some PhD guy. They was outside, and the headline said, there wasn't a black agenda inside, but we're going to discuss one out here. And my position was, well, wait a minute now, why aren't you inside protesting and screaming and hollering and pushing your agenda up on the stage? Because the illegal aliens are not citizens, and they're up on the stage pushing their agenda. This is crazy as hell, and if you're not sane, this stuff would drive you crazy. But that's how these people operate, because they get mad and they tell us, oh, no, it's not. No, the Democrats is waging war against black folks. That's just basically it. But now you see, and I'm so happy that the videos came out of Jim Crow Joe's son strung out on crack. See, our people got sent to jail on extended sentences, but yet his son up here doing crack. And I'm sure the police could pull him over or something and find crack in the car and send his ass to jail. But see, they don't get sent to jail. They just get to buy more and do whatever they want to do. So you've already decimated my community across this country. And nowhere in hell I vote for Jim Crow Joe. So I just want people to understand that none of these people are moral, and watch these, always question. When you see these commercials and they're trying to say whatever about party, all these videos up in a way, the way they did with Mrs. Shirley Sherrod, our beautiful sister down in South Georgia, and got her fired. And that right there should not have happened. They didn't see, and let me say this before I land. Now, I don't know if you all remember this, but this former 60 Minutes reporter, I think her name was Laura Logan. So she had done a little expose on that Benghazi issue. And she had talked to some people, I think they were Republicans, but she did not vet them. And what happened is they broadcast this thing on 60 Minutes. And one of the things that she said, this is what really, it didn't flip me out, but it showed just who these people are trying to model themselves afterwards. Model themselves after, not after. She said, liberals can tell the truth too. See, they was going by these Fox News people who tell lies all the time, but we saw if they didn't lie, they would not have paid damn near $1 billion to settle a lawsuit. So that's who a lot of these people, they try to, if you notice, like CNN is looking like they leaning more towards the Fox News type nowadays, And so just be careful, people, when you watch this stuff, always question. Never let this go into your psyche without questioning. Because if you do, you're going to be totally confused. And I'll land with that.
All right. Thank you, original. And I want to add this point right here too, because like I said, the other day people were talking about we they was talking about the root of courses. We know the root is pro Democrat, and they were talking about the rappers and trying to sway him to Trump and this and that. And then I talked about Joe Biden. Like nobody has an issue with Cardi B or any other rappers that try to sway people to vote Democrat. There's no issue with that. It's like, hey, that's what you're supposed to do. Basically, you black, you're supposed to vote Democrat. And you had a bunch of black people that got upset when I talked about the crime bill in '94. And hey, we had to do something and this and that or whatever. It made no sense because it was just proving my point when they talk about that bill was bipartisan. It was it got bipartisan support. So yeah, so all of the negative stuff that came along with that bill, that like I say, the Clintons and Biden them admitting to, like, hey, this was a mistake. I'm sorry for taking part in this or whatever. You know, let that be the legacy right there, because if it was just a bill that the Democrats came up with, I mean the Republicans came up with, you'd be still hearing about it. But the fact that it was a bunch of Democrats that came up with that bill, they want to go ahead and talk about, yeah, well, it just wasn't them. It was everybody that came up with it. It was everybody that supported. Like, yeah. So when we talk about the Republicans and the legislation they put that impacts black people's lives negative, remember that the Democrats also did that as well. And like I say, remember back in '86 that Biden also played a key part in writing that bill that sentenced the disparity between crack cocaine and cocaine. So he also played a part in that as well too. And you got a bunch of black people that sit up and they still talk about it, about hey, well, we had to do something, this and that or whatever. And my thing is like, look, it's been several times we've had epidemics in this country. You could go back to the prohibition if you want to be for real. The prohibition, they didn't just round up every white person they could or whatever and start throwing them in jail or whatever. Like the prohibition didn't have all these anti-laws and stuff like that and just really just destroyed a generation of people. Even though we know the prohibition was big business, we know the mob was behind it. We know a bunch of people got killed and gunned down in the street and everything else. Fast forward to this generation right now with the opioid. Why aren't they doing anything comparable with the actual policies that they put in place with crack? Why are they doing that with the opioid? Considering that the opioid is supposed to kill more people than anybody, why aren't they sentencing people severely like they were during the crack era? It's just funny that certain things like, hey, okay, this worked for this time or whatever, but now this can't work here. We're not going to do this for this group of people right here. So when I ask people that, nobody really could give me an answer on that, a definitive answer. Why? Yeah, the crack era we understand the impact of the crack era. We're not saying that things shouldn't have been done to kind of seize it, to kind of stop what was going on. But at the same time, like I said, you've never seen that harsh policing with any other era or any other type. And we've had many types close to what the crack era was. The violence, don't talk about the violence. The violence of the prohibition era was big time. And people want to go ahead and just, and it got so bad that people say, hey, you know what? Go ahead and make it legal again. Make it legal. Make it legal. We should have never made it illegal in the first place. Go ahead and make it legal. We can't deal with this. Go ahead and make it legal. And like I said, with this opioid, you hear all these sob stories. Oh my God, little Johnny he used to play ball and now he just got addicted to opioids. And now it's always an excuse and a sob story and a tearjerker when it comes to a certain demographic of people, when it comes to their addiction and their struggles and their pain. But you didn't feel that before in the 80s. Lock them up, throw them away, get rid of them. So now, like I say, we don't have that same energy for a different group of people. So we got Aunt Lie and Black Pressure up here. I'm not gonna hold them up. Go ahead, Aunt Lie, and then Pressure. You got it.
Peace, Beth, and reparations. Give a shout out to my uncle. He's hilarious. He had me over here crying. But in regards to the sellout who was talking on the Breakfast Club, I have to see all of it. I saw some clips of it. I saw what he said to Charlamagne, and I feel like it's easy for certain people to sell out their people because they know that it's a payday. They're literally cashing in on the white man's generosity to be nice to them, and therefore they're willing to stab their own people in the back to get, I guess, all the riches in the land, if that's what they're getting for it. But we know who the sellouts are. We know people not wrapped too tight. I don't know what somebody said that what Tesla. I'm surprised Tesla didn't get his ass. But the thing about it is, with black folks, and I do firmly believe this, I feel like black people shouldn't have certain conversations in front of mixed company. Like whatever black business is between black folks, and you can tell a sellout or someone who's not really for the people, if he's willing to dog his own people but not say nothing about why their people are in this condition, because we can talk about the negative conditions of black folks till we blow in the face. But if we're not talking about white supremacy and the white supremacists who put black people in this condition, then the conversation is pointless. Because nothing that happened to black people since they've been on these lands have been done. They have not been allowed to be left alone. They've literally been harassed and brutalized and marginalized since they got here. So they're in the condition they're in, not of any of their own doing. And even right after slavery, 1920s, when we had Black Wall Street, they like when we were left alone, we were left to our own devices. We were thriving. We were not only surviving, but we were thriving, and it got to be so good. You see them coming in and tearing it up. Notice when you get black people doing something positive or something good, they always, even with hip hop. Hip hop was ours. We created millionaires, people from the hood. It was us, created for us. After everything that happened with the civil rights movement, everything, we created our own genre, and here they come fucking it up, talking about look at the hip hop on TV. This hip hop is bad. It's bad. That ain't us. Y'all infiltrated it, and y'all tried to destroy it from within and make it something that's not. So I feel like we just really need to look at, and everything is blamed on white supremacy because it's white supremacy fault. In regards to the Owens guy, again, sellouts is sellout. In regards to Ben Jones, let me tell you, that had me cracking up so hard because he got his N-word wake-up call. And the sadness of it all is the fact that he probably really, because they said that he was forced out, but he didn't want to be forced out. The fact that he probably shocked the fact that his master is treating him this way. Because he thought, or he assumed that he could basically, it didn't affect him. You know, we talk about black folks, he wasn't included in that because he was at their table and he was invited to the White House and he had his name on certain legislation and he had this. And that's very, very careful when people talk about collaborating with and working with. When you invite certain people to the cookout, the issue that I have that there's a permanent ban on inviting people to the cookout or having people in the conversation is because when they get to the house, they take ownership of it. They take your deed. It was some quote or some saying about how, you know, we invited them, we taught them how to cook and how to, you know, take the land. The Indians taught them how to take the land and then turned around, tend to the land. The Indians taught them everything when they got over here and they turned around and took their land. They have been doing this since the beginning of time. And nothing and everything, even with hip hop, even with everything that we've had, they come in and they destroy it. They take over. So when you let them into the cookout, that's what happens. So stop letting them into the cookout. It's important time that we got to understand the people that we are dealing with are not very smart and they do the same thing. Nothing is new under the sun. It's not like they're curing cancer or finding some new tricks of the trade to try to trick us out of everything they've done. No, they literally do the same thing over and over again. They got the same script, ain't nothing new, ain't nothing changing. They just go for what they know. So we have to be at a point where, like, he got what he deserved. And the fact that it happened, I don't even want to say it's unfortunate, but he put himself in a position because he allowed them to have access to be able to do that to them. So I'll end my plane.
All right. Thank you, Aunt La. Let me go ahead and kick it over to Black Pressure. Black Pressure, what's going on tonight?
What's up, Lou? Black family, what up? Excuse me.
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I apologize. What up? It's apologize if there's any road noise. I'm working late tonight. But no, I want to come off the top rope with the flying elbow behind what you said about the crime bill. So, you know, in my own family, I've had these looking for. They wanted a remedy for the violence that most of the time accompanies the narcotics trade. Because if you go look at all the line items or the line items that mostly affected black people in those drug laws, like you said, that literally destroyed a generation of black people. You got the of course we all know about the 100 to 1 crack law. That was in the 86. If you look at the mandatory sentencing, whereas that took away the judge's discretion when they sentenced people to jail. So you could look at it like you take a 19-year-old kid in the inner city who grew up in abject poverty, and he got caught with $300 worth of crack. You don't send that child to jail for 20 fucking years. That's what was happening. And like I said, you would send somebody that got caught with $300 worth of crack in 1996 to jail for 20 years. Come on, man. And like I said, look what they did to generations of people. And like, of course, if you go back and look at the 100 to 1 crack law, what a lot of people don't know is that President Reagan, who was a fire-breathing racist, he wanted a 20 to 1 discrepancy in that. Biden wanted the 100 to 1, and he convinced them to write the 100 to 1 and sign off on that. So you really got to realize how evil that guy is, how evil Biden is. And like I said, you made a great point that people don't realize. If you really pull the layers back on those crime laws, you really don't realize how silly black people look standing in line voting for that guy. And I'll mute up and listen.
All right, thank you, Pressure. Guys, up in the Jumbotron, I got the Newstoter YouTube channel up in there. That's on the left-hand side, the fourth on the left-hand side. Make sure you go ahead and click that and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, for those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news media curation platform to date in America. If you don't have Cash App, we have Venmo and PayPal also up in the Jumbotron. Same for everybody over there on YouTube. Those links are in the actual description, guys. Pressure. Listen, like I said, I was getting into it with people talking about they sitting up here, and all of a sudden Joe Biden, I'm kind of at a loss for words. People sitting up here, black people, just to the point that you don't care what it is. You want to have somebody that's a Democrat in office so bad, you don't give a damn how he feels about black people. You feel like that's your only, because people are telling me about what other choice do we have? It's a lesser, and I kid you not, they still talk about this lesser two evil crap. What other choice do we have? You gotta, the Republicans are the party of white supremacy and white, and I'm like, damn, well, what is the Democrats? Because you got one that's out with their hatred, another one that's more reserved and slick and sly with it. Like, there's no difference. Like, look, the Democrats could have did something for black people by now. Democrats have no plans on doing anything for black people unless you actually punish them through the polls. That's it. And black people don't have the discipline to do that. Go ahead, Prince. I know you was going to say something.
I'm sorry. Can I add one more thing?
Go ahead.
I think Lai touched on it. You touched on it too about when you leave black people. The name of that BTK. I'd have to look it up, but he touched on it. Malcolm spoke about even the negative vices in our community, that when black people get their hands on, what can come out of it. I know everybody in here of a certain age group, like you touched on it, we remember the crack cocaine scourge of the 80s and 90s and what it did to the black community. But if you flip that coin, and like I say, people in the larger cities collection me more than about a lot of those guys in my collection you, but like look at all the black dudes and some women that became like multi-millionaires off the narcotics trade. And like I said, I can tell you about a few community, and they became immensely wealthy off of. Like I said, I'll mute up and listen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see we got a few of our people up in here. I see my girl Rella down there in the space. Shout out to you, Rella. If you get a chance, definitely come up. We ain't gonna keep the space going too long tonight, guys. It's a Monday night, so we ain't gonna keep it going too long. DJ, I know you was doing something. You back in the space, or you still out and about? I think DJ might be out and about or whatever.
Nah, I'm there. I've been here the whole time.
No, okay. I know you kind of quiet. I know you kind of normally come up. I see Original coming back up to speak as well too.
Well, OG still in all the talking points and shit. Can't get in there right now. You know what I mean? Duck and weave, bob and weave. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk, man. Like I say, Larry Elder. If y'all have not seen that actual if not seen the actual Breakfast Club interview with Larry Elder, definitely go ahead and catch that up. It was comedy at its best. Larry Elder, like I say, and people we give him credit for, roughly give him credit for what he said to Charlemagne the God, which pretty much anybody with a brain would have said anyways. But Larry, he snapped on that when so you give him props for that one there. But for the most part, it was still vintage Larry Elder. Everything that the issue in this country, nothing is really white. White people didn't really cause any issue. Yeah, he'll talk. He'll occasionally like, yeah, it was slavery. It was racism back in this time and era. And when people start saying real racism, that's a nice way of saying that today there is no racism, because he tells you straight up there's no systematic racism. You ask him about the again, he's like, well, I'm not saying there's not any racism. I'm saying that there's no systematic racism. So I guess in Larry's mind, there's sporadic cases of racism, but it's not systematic. It's not government. It's not policy. It's not institutionalized. It's just, it's just individuals maybe with racism. And I'm sure Larry would say too, especially if enough white people's around, that black people are the ones actually more racist than white people, because you got a lot of black conservatives that feel that way as well too. So nothing Larry really said really surprised me whatsoever. He came and Tesla, too bad she didn't have somebody else up there with like I said, that politically could have really challenged. I know she was trying to get in. I could see she was getting frustrated, trying to actually, get the talking points in, and you had her and Larry, at times, trying almost button heads. But Larry, he set it up right. I think he knew that, that was the right platform to go to. He wasn't going to get as much pushback, especially with Charlemagne the God, and Charlemagne politics. He has political conversations on there, but like I said, you really needed somebody that was a real political commentator to really go ahead and hold his feet to the fire, which he was able to slip and slide for the most part. So, it was what it is. This guy knows he has no realistic shot of being a president. He's pretty much just trying to use this to once again to enhance his profile, whether it's politically or it's to write another book or whatever it is. That's pretty much what it is. I see Original look like he having some issues connecting or whatever. So I don't know if Original may try to come back up, but Larry has no shot of being president. It would be, to him, the world would be perfect if Trump went ahead and used him as his black running mate. That would be everything that he wanted right there. He would get enough, and they'd probably get enough support from the GOP. Now, I don't know, because I know he was saying that you had 20-some-odd% of black men actually voted for Trump in the last election, but there are a lot of black men I know that, and I'm sure there's some that would still vote for Trump if he was on the actual ticket. But there are a lot of black men that I think if you had Larry Elder on the ticket, just because he is just so anti-black, he can get away with saying stuff that even a lot of white men can't, because they'll just be labeled as classically just as racist. But you have a lot of black people that have a hard time, voting for Larry, for having Larry Elder on the ticket. Even if they were going to vote for Trump, they just have a hard time, because he says everything that really white people want to say, but are kind of careful in today's era of so-called cancel culture, that they really just can't afford to say. But so they can't say it, but they can get somebody like Larry to get up there and say it. They can get somebody like Candace Owens to get up there and say it. They definitely get Burgess Owens to come up there and say it as well too. So they use these black people for their talking points, but they're only going to elevate them so far. You still haven't seen the Republicans have a black vice president nominee on the ticket or anything, and you wonder eventually will they go ahead and try to pull that wool out the hat as well too. So that'll be interesting to see. But I just don't think Larry Elder, because I believe Larry's 71 as well too. So he ain't exactly no spring chicken, if we being honest about it as well too. So when they eventually, because eventually they will put a black on the ticket. Who knows? That might be 20 years from now. It might be however long, but eventually they'll try that. They'll try that as well too. And when they put him up there, you'll see. But I think it'll be a younger man more than likely than Larry Elder. Original. Hold on, real quick before I get the original. I want to read a comment. I didn't agree with everything that Elder said, but being from B-More, he was somewhat correct on this analysis on how the city government is ran and who runs it. I know he was saying something that Baltimore was black ran and everything else like that as well too. So maybe C-Mac, is that what you're trying to say? That he was trying to say that the actual city. Because I think this, I can't remember. I think somebody said that name something that's completely black control or whatever, and I guess he used Baltimore as an example. So maybe that's what you're talking about, C-Mac. Original, go ahead and unmute your mic.
It's interesting you're talking about how they talked about these Democratic-run cities. But look at a lot of these Republican-run cities and states. Mississippi, for example. The money was sent down for Jackson to handle their water issue, but the white folks stole the money and took it and built volleyball stadiums for these schools where their kids go. And so, like I said, it is the same concept. What I really want to comment on is something that Black Pressure said about these people living in these projects and selling all these drugs and living well. But see, what a lot of people, again, as Aunt La said, as my niece said, it's the same concept because see, back in the day, when I was coming up, you had people, well, we called them liquor houses. Black folks sold liquor in the community. And oftentimes what would happen is these black people that sold liquor, it didn't take long for the police to find out who was selling the liquor. They can always find somebody to tell on somebody. But they would give the police kickbacks so that they wouldn't, that the police wouldn't come in and shut them down and arrest everybody inside the place drinking. That's where I grew up here in I say degenerate Georgia because it was I grew up in a dry county, and the reason even I'm not a drinker, but when stuff come up about drinking and gambling, I vote for it because these are degenerate white Christians want to try to act like they so moral and they're not. You cannot be moral if you hate black folks. That's not moral. And so, but these black folks were paying because I have a cousin. He's from Alabama, and I didn't know it. He lives in Georgia now, but he said that his father was a bootlegger. I didn't know it. He said, "Oh yeah," he said, "Daddy would tell me his mother and father separated." He said, "Yeah, Daddy would tell me he had to pay, sheriff or police chief so and so much money so they wouldn't come and shut it down." So that's again the same concepts keep continuing because a lot of these police officers knew who was selling these drugs, but they was getting those kickbacks as usual, and they would let them flood the community with drugs. But it was when the people was trying to shut certain things down because let me tell you how low down these people are. Back in the 90s, and I think it may have been before. I think it may have been before I got to LA. But and how they want to talk about black people being criminals and stuff and don't report crime. Black people in LA, what they did was they had to devise a plan. And so what they would do is they would go down to the police department and report these people who was doing whatever. Or if they call 911, they would say, don't knock on my door. Y'all know how we do it in the hood. But some of these police officers would deliberately go to these black folks' houses and try to sit them up. See, that's how low down these white folks are. There are no good white people in this universe. You can't hate black people, and these people look at the hate that's pushed towards us, and any of these people can be good. The two just don't go together. So they've been doing this same thing, because I tell you, when I was in junior high, I worked at this dry cleaners. And so the owner of the dry cleaner, he was telling me about how this white guy, he was a staunch alcoholic. So his family would hide all the liquor from him so he could just get sloppy drunk. So what he started doing was, he started going to the black community. Because, some black folks, they think if a white folks smile at them, giving it, like they say, they tell you a lot with a Colgate smile. But they think if they smile at them, that they're your friend. So he found out where some of the liquor houses were that he could go to in the black community. But then you know what happened? The family and the police started going to those liquor houses, telling the people, said, don't y'all sell to him. Say he's an alcoholic and he's gonna kill himself and da 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 da. And so they stopped. The people at the liquor house stopped selling to him. But what he did, this Bob was such an alcoholic, he ended up drinking antifreeze and killed himself. So that's just who these people are. They are the ones who are drug prone and everything else. It's not us. We just got caught up in the mix, from what I understand. So I just want to share that. But what Black Pressure said about that has been going on for a long time. But I remember once, some people came to our house, and one of the guys wanted a beer, and my mother told him where he could go to get the beer. He came back and said, "Hey, they said they don't sell no beer down there." So I was at home. My mother asked, she said, "Hey, go down to Jabbo's house with him so he can get him some beer." I said, "Okay." So I went down there. "Hey, how you doing, man? What's up?" They said, "Oh, we didn't know you know that." I said, "Come on in." They said, "Hey, are you going with?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'm good. Brother was in the beginning. Everybody was happy. So, like I said to you, unless they know you. And so that's how, because they understand people coming in trying to set them up and everything else. But Black Pressure was right. He was completely right about that. And I just want to share that, and I land.
All right. Thank you, Original. Thank you. We're not gonna keep the space open too much longer, guys. Or anybody have anything else they want to add? C Mac, I see what you're saying.
Real quick. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask Rich. You heard about that white father of three that offed himself all over being for $20,000 in debt?
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, just look it up.
But see, they do stuff like that because some of these crazy white fools, they got this, and some of these crazy black ones, they try to follow them. They have it set up by this age you should have this, and this age you should be making this much money. I mean, you would go damn crazy trying to follow some stupid process of that nature. So it doesn't surprise me that he did that. That's how crazy they are. Yeah, that's just how crazy. And I'll land with that.
Go ahead, Ray. You got it.
Off topic, man. I wanted to shout out our sister, Shakira Richardson, for winning that 100-meter dash. Finally beating them Jamaicans.
That's what's up. Shout out to her. Yeah, I had
That race was fire, right? That shit was fire.
I tweeted that out early today as well too. So yeah, shout out to her making a comeback as well too. Real quick on YouTube, Nightfall says, I got it. Newstoter. Perhaps we can get a state of the Black Union debate featuring Larry Elder, Tim Scott, Umar Johnson, Claude Anderson, and Marcel Dixon, moderated by Roland Martin. That would be quite the feat, right there. He was able to get all of them on there together. I'm not sure how that would go, but that would be worth the price of admission. I have to say that much right there as well too. Tomorrow night, guys, we have a space. We're gonna be breaking down this actual article that the Wall Street Journal. It's up in the jumbotron on the far left hand side, guys. Go ahead and retweet it out. It says Wall Street Journal. What about what the Bible says about reparations for slavery? So they had a little article about that I want to go ahead and touch up on that tomorrow night. That's going to be the actual subject tomorrow night. So definitely come up in. Very interesting what they had to say about this as well too. So not surprising in the least bit how condescending they were, but definitely we'll dive into that tomorrow night as well too, man. DJ, you want to say something real quick? Because I guess we'll get ready to close it out.
Everybody said everything. Great. Shout out to the room.
All right. Guys.
Next space. There you go.
Oh, you got space coming on after this here?
Hey, we don't go to sleep around here. You know what I'm saying? It's 24/7. Running this news.
That's what it is. That's what's up. What's up? Make sure you guys visit newstoter.com daily to stay up to date on breaking Black news in Black America. Mondays, we always have a complete coverage of news, so definitely check it out. If you have not been on the site today, go ahead and visit it for a little bit, surf, come back to Twitter, and just chill or whatever. Definitely make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're following Newstoter on all the social media platforms as well too. Up in the Jumbotron, I got social up in there as well too. We got the social funded socially in there. That's the third on the left-hand side. Definitely go ahead, guys, and I retweeted it out, but definitely go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and set up a profile on funded socially, Black owned by Black majority states. So definitely go ahead, support Black business, support Black content. Hey, we almost out of the month of Black Business Month, which is August. So definitely go ahead and sign up on a Black platform, guys. So definitely, we definitely need to go ahead and do that. So support Black majority state, support funded. Nightfall real quick says this church needs to STFU, separation of church and state, as well as until churches start giving full account of their donations every Sunday. They need to be real quiet. I don't think you ever got to worry about these jokers ever giving a full account of what they actually raking in on Sundays. So you don't ever have to worry about that. So we definitely like I said, tomorrow night we're gonna be mixing in the Bible with reparations. So this is definitely one y'all need to come to. For those that can support us on Cash App, $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news curation platform today in America. $Newstoter, $Newstoter. For those that don't have it, the Venmo and the PayPal's up in the Jumbotron, guys. We got DJ Space coming up next. So we're going to go ahead and call this a night, and we will see you tomorrow night, guys. Peace. Everybody be safe and have a good one.
Peace.